Welcome to the Pay Yourself First podcast. My name is Chris Jolly, and I'm on a mission to financially empower millions of entrepreneurs. I want you to make and keep more money so that you can begin implementing and turbocharging a plan for creating financial freedom your way during the life cycle of your current business without spending a ton of time or becoming a professional investor. You see, most of the financial teachings out there are made for employees, not entrepreneurs. If you wouldn't listen to someone who doesn't have kids about parenting, why take business financial advice from someone without a business? Are you ready to break free of bad advice and follow the trail of other uncommon entrepreneurs so you can get from where you are now to the lifestyle you were aiming to create when you started your business? Then stick around. Here comes another episode of Pay Yourself First, where the only investment we offer is the one you make in yourself. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Chris, and I'm excited to be here with you again. We have another amazing entrepreneur on today. His name is Brad Henry, and he's calling in from Lafayette, Louisiana. His business is Procept Marketing, and he provides digital marketing services. Brad, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you on. I know you're going to provide a lot of value for everybody, and just really excited to get in. So why don't you start by telling us what exactly you do in your business, who you provide marketing services for, and how you got into this business?
So my business is Procept Marketing. Our real goal is to bring digital solutions and traffic to potential clients. We started the business back in 2017, and we started with just like a lot of business, just kind of just bringing client that would come into us. And we realized shortly after that it wasn't our target market to be able to direct energy toward them. So now what we do, we follow a couple of different niches, which is oil and gas, medical, home automation, and home services. And we like to stick to those niches simply because those are the areas that we know the best how the target demographic think for the B2B and the B2B sales. So we kind of just narrowed it down to that. We provide search and optimization. We're really big on getting your business found, hopefully on the first spot or the first page of Google. And bring brand awareness any way digital to you.
Love it. Awesome. It sounds like you've really kind of niched down, especially for the area that you're in now, that you're serving. What was it that led to you making that distinction? Or when did you realize, you know what, I can't just, as so many businesses do, kind of scatter shot to everybody when they start out and then realize you have to really know who you're selling to?
Well, I just want to say how I actually got into this industry and what made me go with it. Before this, I was a commercial diver offshore in a very intense physical job. I got injured back in the water back in 2013 and got out of it. I started doing marketing because I had a sister of mine that developed websites, and I figured out that I could, sell a lot of her websites. That's kind of how the business originally started, and I kind of just spiraled down this downhole of different marketing services and how they actually can bring your business and bring traffic to your sites. So that lasted for about, 3 or 4 months with just selling websites. And then I started falling down the rabbit hole of searching and optimization and figuring out how to get your website in front of people. At this time, social media was a very, very big factor, which it still is. But we did a lot of energy toward, social media marketing. But then I started seeing around the corner that it was very competitive and the space was just getting very saturated. So I turned over to search and optimization. And then we kind of just took it and took off from that point.
I love it. Now, tell me about the SEO, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs don't really realize how crucial it is to rank highly if you want to get your website seen. Can you kind of dive into what the difference is between people who do get seen and don't, and maybe how they can up their rankings?
Well, conversions obviously mean phone calls or lead forms or just somebody coming to your business. It's about 70% different. If you're seen on Google, people look at that. Your digital presence is pretty much your brick and mortar nowadays. It's actually more important than a brick and mortar. So when people look at their business, they look at their website and see how it's structured, how appealing it looks, but that back end needs to be solid too, so the search engines can pick it up. People think that SEO is either social media or content on your website, which is a part of it, but more so there's a lot of factors to go into and how important it is. I like to say that it's just as important as having insurance on your car to have SEO on whatever website you're running, simply because your business is going to come from the internet when you sleep. A lot of people run things such as Google Ads. We also are a big ad agency, but at the end of the day, I think that SEO is probably the most important tool if you have a website.
Yeah, I couldn't really agree more. It comes down to that location adage, right? when you're in the physical world, the location, like you said, is your actual brick and mortar, whatever street corner you're on. When you're in the digital world, if you're not on that first page, honestly, or the first couple of pages, the chances of anybody finding you get vanishingly small.
That is absolutely true. And even on being on the first page, there's other tools that have to go into marketing with that, such as, Google Ads or some home services like Google Guarantee. But just under giving our customer the knowledge of understanding what every marketing strategy and tool means and is used for. Because there's a lot of discrepancies on, what marketing agencies are running for clients. And we consider ourselves a growth agency. So we like to actually give strategies out because it needs to be a dynamic approach. And just trying to give that clarification of what digital marketing is a challenge in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I come to you as an entrepreneur and I need some marketing services. I've never marketed my business before. I'm not really sure where to start. What would you say to me?
Well, the first place to start is going to be a foundation. That's going to be actually your website or your digital presence. A lot of people build their websites and things like Squarespace and Wix, which is fine. But I like to build more robust sites that are catered to the demographic of the business. But the foundation is obviously the most important. Before you can start a marketing service, you need to make sure that your website is structurally sound if you have one.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So let's say we get the website up and we're starting to get some traffic coming. How do I retain that traffic? Or like how do I convert the people who are coming from the media efforts?
Unfortunately, the big word, and this is going to be analytics, because most clients hate to hear analytics because it's not necessarily dollar signs, but analytics is going to tell you where they're coming from, how they got there, how long they spent there, and taking that data and just revising it to figure out how to keep people coming from that same channel or add different channels to it is a big part of the digital marketing. It's going to be the research side of it. A lot of clients just want to see the end results. How many people called me? How many people converted to dollar signs? But all of this is an approach. And to be honest, it usually takes anywhere from 30 to 90 days for these analytics to prove back true to redivert your strategy. So once you start digital marketing, you need to have a very clear digital blueprint of the direction you're going.
Yeah, and I think entrepreneurs and other people in marketing often forget kind of how long of a runway they need to start to see the ROI and to actually capture people's attention. And I understand because when you're running a small business, to put out a lot of money in advertising and then be like, all right, I just sit on my hands for the next 3 to 6 months and wait for things to develop. How how often do you find that your clients are needing to get in front of their potential customers, or what do you see as the time frame before they really start to get that ROI on their efforts?
Realistically, I'm going to say about a 6 month approach is where I feel comfortable at. So that's usually 3 months before the business starts and, 3 months after to kind of get that digital approach. But so in some cases, 3 months is a good place. The problem is people don't look at marketing as a investment. They look at it as a bill. And if you look at it as an investment, you understand that the end goal is exposure in any way possible to get traffic to your business, and having that exposure maximized through digital marketing efforts is what's important. So to answer that question, probably 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's generally what I hear kind of across the board. But as you said, if you have that mindset that it's just money coming out of your pocket, it's going to hurt doing that every month. And when you realize that it's actually putting it back in, then it definitely makes it easier to feel better about that.
Which is also true. I think that and I don't know if I can say this, but a lot of like some of these new MLM agencies that are popping up, and they've really watered down the system and kind of made it hard for the true digital marketers to explain to people, why there's a strategy, what the digital blueprint is, because they've, brought these tools of social media marketing and they really don't know what they're doing. And it's just diluted our efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned, Brad, that you've done the social media marketing game, you've done the SEO. What do you find to be most effective for small businesses to reach their audience as far as cost effectiveness, getting in front of the right people? And how much does that vary upon, say, the industry or the business itself?
It 100% varies on the industry. Every industry is different. But if I had to say what two tools would I use well, I would say three tools for digital marketing. If I had a small budget, I was a small business. One, I would use 100% SEO because that's a long-term investment. I would tech stack that with something like Google Ads and probably social media. Social media advertising, unless you're usually in the food industry, is not as effective for like home services as it once was. Just because nobody really clicks on the ad, but it does help you with the branding if you're building a reputation. So SEO, searching, which is search and optimization, Google Ads, and probably some social media branding.
Love it. Great advice. Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit about the financials in your business. So, when you came to the business at first, what did you know about business finance? Because I know most people, like, we don't have an MBA, we didn't go to school to learn to run a business unless you have actual hands on experience doing all that kind of stuff. Most entrepreneurs don't get it. What was your kind of financial literacy level when you got into business, and how have you grown in that respect?
From a standpoint of just being a employee, my financial literacy level was probably about an 8, but as far as being a business owner, it was a 2. And we started this business, it was a cash flow business, meaning that, we took all the money up front before we provided services, and then put on a monthly retainer. And that worked well until I ran into one hurdle, which was scaling. When I hit the scaling platform and I decided I want to scale my business, I just didn't want an office inside of my home, me and my wife working. I realized that I had some challenges because I had to equate for employees and actually understand that I had that payroll set up and so many other things. So that's definitely developed every year.
Yeah, I know that it's a big challenge, I think, for most entrepreneurs when you're going from that kind of solopreneur phase to taking on employees, having that extra responsibility. And as you said, when you're just getting cash up front, as long as you have new clients come in, everything kind of rolls along all right. But once you start to add the payroll and all those other things, you have less of a runway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then it comes really down to making sure that you're taking care of your cash flow. Okay, so when you have money come into your business, Brad, how do you determine what to use it for? Do you have kind of like a long-term financial plan that you're following right now? Is it just based upon whatever the needs of the moment are for you, or how do you make that determination where the revenue goes once everybody's been paid?
So I'm not sure how everybody else thinks, but mine has changed year to year, and it's based on what we're going to be trying. What our attempt to do in the next year, the next 2 years is. For this year, right now, what we decided to do was just increase our monthly revenue once we had all of our systems in place and understood that we just only needed to scale and bring in more clients. Prior to that, we needed to change some foundation and fundamental things about the business in order to bring in new clients. So right now we're more focused on just duplicating our process over and over again and being able to increase our monthly revenue. Now I'm looking at the short term goals this year instead of the long term because it's easier for us as a business to be able to sell, provide the work, implementate, and just get our return back right now.
Okay, I gotcha. And then for yourself, as you plan towards the long term and work towards financial freedom, what does that look like for you? Are you currently investing? And if so, what are you investing in? Do you have a plan that you're following to build towards financial freedom right now? Or how does that look for you?
Yes, I have, the basics, the RA Rofs, IRAs, for my previous employers. And I do some daily trading sometime. I've took it upon myself to educate on stocks, and that's just kind of things I do to diversify my money because I know that any given day my business could take a nosedive and I have to be able to sustain. So we put probably about 40% of our profit margins into savings because there are rainy days in today's economy. Of course, take out our revenue for taxes, put that off to the side in a tax account. But like I said, it's evolved every single year. I've had brought in a couple different financial advisors, and to be honest, a few of them have actually set us back some because you have to make sure you get somebody that understands finances when you're dealing with finances. And let's be honest, business owners don't always get that. So to self educate is fine, but you also need somebody to mentor you in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot to become empowered with your financials, both personally and in business, but especially in business because fewer people know how to do it. They're like you said, that you need a mentor, but there aren't as many out there, and it can be a real challenge for sure. Now, Brad, you said that some of the financial advisors you worked with have set you back. And that can kind of happen easily because especially if they're not working with business finance, or if they're one of those advisors who thinks that they're going to beat the market and is trying to give you like their good stock picks. We know how often that can fail. What was the problem that you had with the financial advisors, or what were kind of the setbacks that got you caught up in?
The one that sticks out is I think that their systems were antiquated at the time. What they were utilizing wasn't beneficial. They didn't understand my full scale approach on what we were trying to do at the business. So they were more in tune with, they wanted to switch back from we were using QuickBooks Online, and we switched back to desktop because I do understand that some of those systems work a little better, but it actually just threw us into a whole nother. It was right at the end of the year as well. It threw us into a whole nother challenge. We ended up switching back to QuickBooks Online, but it was strictly because the advisor that came in wasn't aware of what our goals were and what we needed to do and what we were doing at that point. They were just more concerned about trying to show us something, and that's not what we needed to learn.
Yeah, I think when it comes to a business, especially rather than just personal finance, it's really important to be in tune with what the business's goals are, because there's kind of general advice that can work for most people across the board. But, if I'm trying to go one place and your vehicle is pointed in a different direction, we're not going to get the outcome that I had wanted.
And just to add to that, one of the biggest things, and this should be any industry, but since we're talking about finances, is do your research on whoever is going to come mentor you and help you. Just because somebody talks a good game at the restaurant, or at a bar, you meet them, or so wherever you're at, and you have a couple conversations, and they're very knowledgeable about what's happening. You need to look at their resume and see what they've done for other clients. Then you need to consult and interview with them a couple times, and bring your whole team in, and make sure everybody understands exactly what you're doing. Because in any service, whether it's marketing or financial, you have to make sure they have the knowledge to understand where you're trying to go. And that was on our issue. We didn't do enough research on them to understand that they didn't have that knowledge to understand our scaling. They were looking at more smaller businesses that were one man bands, and that wasn't working for us. We had mastered that already.
Yeah, and one thing that you definitely need to be careful for when you look for financial help is make sure you're finding somebody who is a fiduciary, because legally speaking, they have to operate with your best interest as at heart. Whereas oftentimes, the quote unquote financial advisors are actually just salespeople who are trying to get you into this retirement account or that, this program or that, because they're getting a sales commission or a percentage, that sort of thing.
Yep. So just, I guess, and I'm sure you know more about that, is they need to understand your goal and give you an approach before you decide to just, write that checkbook to them on what that approach is going to be.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that can sting the most, because you feel like you're doing the right thing and you're going to get help financially. You invest money in it, and then if it ends up being a setback and not moving you forward, it's really not pleasant. Okay, Brad, I want you to tell me what financial freedom looks like to you. So I want you to imagine a time in the near future where your business is operating super smoothly. You can take 2 weeks off and go on a beach vacation if you want. Like, all the money is coming in to fund the lifestyle you desire for you and your family. What does that life look like? And what are you doing with your time when that moment comes?
So financial freedom to me looks like me being able to scale myself outside of my business. Because what I did essentially was I created a job when I started a business. I created a job for myself and got out of one job, a career, to get into another job. So financial freedom looks like being able to run my business from afar, but not necessarily run it, just oversee it at some point, and maybe even acquisitions. I mean, I'm 45 years old, and I have 5 years till I'm 50, obviously. And that's kind of my goal, to start, moving away from the business at that time. Just not having to deal with the day-to-day issues, not having to be the jack of all trades and having everybody come to me and question me about the issues and problems they're having and solving everything. I just want to have my team set up enough where they have people under them so that I don't have to do this daily. As far as what I want to do, I haven't thought that far. Of course, we love all the typical things of traveling and freedom and shopping and all of that. But I think I have a little deeper calling, and I just want to I would love to mentor on a day to day. I would like to be able to tell young entrepreneurs, preferably, young African males, to how to be successful in a society that's not necessarily set up for them. And people don't have that exposure, and just giving them, give them that exposure on what it looks like. I am not a college graduate. I've learned everything. I've been to several different trade schools and have some college behind me, but I've self-taught myself and through expensive mistakes on how to become what I am now. So just to give him back in teaching is honestly what I want to do.
Yeah, empowering entrepreneurs is something also very near and dear to my heart. And it's like you said, I've made plenty of mistakes myself that could have been avoided and made my life much easier. And I can't go back and change what happened, but I can definitely help to change what happens for other people and hopefully make their life a lot easier as well. So I love that.
I also believe that, for me at least, in order to truly learn, I have to lose money on it. My parents told me things, growing up, and I didn't listen until I hit my head on the wall. And I feel it's the same way in business. Until you lose money on it, then you learn a valuable lesson. At least for me, it was.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point too. And I feel that way about investing and so many things. We may look back at that and think, wow, I really missed out there, missed opportunity. But as long as you're learning the lessons, it pays you way more in the long run than whatever you lost in the front. So
The last part I just want to add to that, Chris,
yeah.
is one of the things I realized, if you hear about a investment and somebody, you hear about it on the internet or you hear about it on the news or a friend talks about it, it's usually too late to get into that investment. So learning, what you're investing in, understanding how you find those investments, that should be a self approach. You look at the stock market a couple of years ago after post COVID, and had GameStop, all these different stocks were through the roof. By the time the average everyday citizen found out to jump in, they were losing money. It was back on the other side of it, or they weren't making that max potential. So those secrets are hidden deep. But if you learn how to read those charts, read the market, you can actually make money on it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true and such a great point. Like you said, by the time retail investors are hearing about it, most of the money has probably already been made on it. And, I sent out an email earlier this week about the dangers of picking specific stocks and investments because even companies that are really big companies that do really well, if you get in the wrong investment at the wrong time, like you might as well be trading crypto meme coins because you could be down 50x on your investment. And so for people who don't want to do all that work and kind of, look and find where the value investments are, that's why you've got investing in index funds, putting your money into real estate. There's so many different options that don't require you to spend a lot of time learning the market and following investments and all that sort of thing.
And the most success I've ever had with the market, honestly, was investing in something that I believe in. I believe in Google. I use that tool all the time. I've made, a lot of revenue from that. But when you follow, the pattern of, I mean, I'm not saying Bitcoin, but if you follow, Bitcoin or something because it's on the rise, usually you make a mistake there. But if you believe in something, you usually have your finger to the pulse and you know what it's doing because you believe in that product, whether it's Nike or anything. So the best advice I can give to somebody who doesn't have that knowledge is to invest in what you believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, what you believe in and what you know about, because there's all kinds of ways to make money in investments. But if you're going to hate it or you're not going to follow it because it doesn't interest you, you're going to miss some important swings in the market. You're not going to be paying attention to factors that you should be. Whereas if you're really into it, you'll pay attention to it and your odds of doing better in it are much higher. Okay, Brad, before I let you go, can you tell everybody who's interested where they can find out more about the business and what you're up to?
My website is www.proceptmarketing, Procept marketing.com. My personal consulting business is bradhenry.com. So Procept Marketing, you can find out a lot about our brands, what we do. And if you got any more questions, you can fill out a lead form on there. We'll make sure that if I don't reach out, somebody will within 24 hours to you.
Amazing. Now, Brad, before I let you go, do you have any advice for the other entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, see it through. I tell all of my entrepreneur friends and young entrepreneurs that you have to see it through. I see a lot of the young generation that they switch up things so much they never go through the highs and lows. Last thing I want to talk about real fast is when you start a business, people usually, what happens, they have an idea, but then they make a little bit of money and then they think they can scale it without understanding why they made that little bit of money. So that bump gives them that quick high. And then they find out shortly after that it's not sustainable. So whatever the idea you decide, set a time limit on it that you may exceed, but see it through the lows and everything. And if you don't believe in what you're doing, you're never going to be able to sell it to be successful at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you fail once or twice or three times, just chalk it up to a learning experience and keep going. There's a lot of glamour around being an entrepreneur, but it's also a lot of hard work. And most people don't see all the work that goes behind the eventual success. So if you love it, keep pushing, keep working at it. Brad, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode. If you've listened this far,
Chances are you're an entrepreneur looking to become more financially literate and create financial freedom for yourself from your business.
The Pay Yourself First podcast
Is definitely here to help with that. My goal is to continue to share what I've learned about using your business as the tool to create financial freedom. But let's face it, it would take me years to share with you everything you need to know via these episodes. Creating financial freedom is something that most people never even consider, let alone make a plan for or take action towards. It's something almost no one was taught anything about. Doing it as an entrepreneur is even more challenging, especially without support. So if you're ready to get clear on what financial freedom looks like for you, come up with an action plan, and get the support systems and accountability you need, I invite you to consider the Abundantly Infinite Entrepreneur. I created the program to help entrepreneurs just like you get a handle on their personal and business finances and start building confidently towards financial freedom. And it's how you can discover ways to take 10 years off your retirement, add an extra 5 or 6 figures to your portfolio, and finally get clear on what numbers you should be tracking in your business and why. Together, we'll gain clarity around your financial goals and what being financially free would actually look like for you. Then we'll put together a customized game plan to get you there and the accountability to see you through. And by the way, you're also going to get all the spreadsheets you need to run your numbers, lifetime access to the materials, including any updates, and entry into our members-only community. In addition to all the knowledge, coaching, community, and systems that you need to create financial freedom from your business, you'll also receive a free financial assessment, a retirement planning session, and guided meditation aimed at helping you embody the feeling of true financial freedom. So yeah, you can just listen to the free content on these podcasts to help you move towards becoming a financially free entrepreneur. And sure, you'll likely see some results, or you can make the decision to commit to learning, implementing, and embodying what you need to know to create the financially free life you dreamed of when you started your business journey. Click the link in the show notes to answer a quick questionnaire, and you'll be on your way to joining the Abundantly Infinite Entrepreneur.